Hi, welcome to Soundings with Sash this evening. We're going to talk about a subject of infidelity and cheating. And this can be quite an interesting conversation because I think it's touched a lot of people in their relationships in the past, uh, even maybe currently. And it can be quite an emotional charged kind of conversation. The other day, I was asked to be on a show with a friend of mine, and we talked about infidelity and cheating. And so I have a couple questions for you and put in the comments. Has it ever affected your relationships? Have you ever had someone in your life that knew was cheating, and you knew the couple and you kind of didn't know how to handle that situation? If you have, please put it in the comments, and I would like to discuss this tonight. So this can be, like, again, I said, a very emotionally charged subject matter, and I've asked some of my lovely girlfriends to come on and chat with me about this back and forth, because we've had these chats before, and I know it doesn't just happen with women. I know that women do it as well, as being in the cheater and vice versa. So what do you feel about if you know and you're really close friends with a couple and you know one is cheating? How do you handle that situation? How do you go forward in that situation? And I know that it can be difficult, and I just want to hear what you guys have to say, and then I'd like to give you my feedback on what I think is a good way to handle the situation, and maybe wish that I had gotten some heads up in some relationships I've been in, that the other person was cheating. So just want to discuss this, want to know what you think of it. Some people think that's intruding in someone else's business. Some people think that, heck no, I'm going to tell the person because they need to know. What do you think? Put in the comments. So hi, Nicholas. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. And Kim, hello, Kim. Nice to see you. And yes, and I've known several couples who have cheated on each other. Yes. So again, I don't think it's gender related. I think that it happens on both sides. But I want to know, how did you handle that situation? And if you've been in that situation, what did you think about your friends who knew, who maybe didn't tell you? How did you put that together, and what did you do in that situation? So Tina, I pulled them aside and tell my bestie, yep, a true friend would not put you in that position. Explain that. A true friend would not put you in that position, meaning they would tell you or they wouldn't tell you. Which one? And hi, Veronica. Nice to see you. So it's an interesting topic, and thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. My bestie's on here, helping me out here. I think if you are the person who got hit on or involved with it, you should say something. But if it's speculation or hearsay, or you don't know for sure, then stay out of it. Correct. If you don't have all the pieces, right? That's hard to say. And sometimes even what you think you see, maybe didn't happen as well. But it really depends on the person, how open they are, how, I guess, maybe your relationship with that person. Me personally, I, in that situation, wanted to know. I would have liked to have known. A true friend would not ask me to keep a secret like that. Yeah. I mean, I personally think that it would have been nice to have given that heads up, like, hey, I heard this, or possibly, or, something. But here is the caveat to that. And I'm going to only speak on my own situation, and my own opinion here is that even when the person knows, say they know, you tell your friend, it is maybe it's your responsibility to tell them, but it's not your responsibility to judge what they do with that information. So it isn't for you to say, well, if I tell her, she's going to do XYZ. It's not your decision to make on how she's going to handle that situation. It is your responsibility to be there to help her through that situation, but maybe not to understand what she does with that information. Now, if you do see, and it is a double-edged sword, open your eyes. Exactly, Tina and Kim, that's a double-edged sword. It is. But if you don't tell her, you're keeping something from her, and that in her eyes possibly, and this happened with me, I thought that person kind of betrayed me. Not that the partner didn't betray me, but that my friend betrayed me as well. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth, because if I knew that about that person and their situation, I think I would tell them. So what do you think? Do you want to know? And here's the other thing. Some people don't want to know. Believe it or not, there are some friends of yours, if you know that information and you tell them, they get upset with you and they cut you off in the friendship. And the reason is because they want to stay in their little denial land. Okay. Because once they have that information, they know you know it, and they want you to maybe make a decision and decide what you're going to do with it. But maybe they just want to stay in denial. So something to think about. And it's again, your responsibility as the friend maybe is to tell them, hi, Larry. So, I want to know. Some people want to know, but believe it or not, there are some people that don't want to know. Nice to see you, Larry. Any men on here have an opinion on this? If you're being cheated on, do you want to know? Do you want to know the truth from a friend? Are you going to turn on the friend? And that's the other question. Why do people turn on their friends when they tell them? I think, again, it's because they don't want to know. They don't want you to upset their apple cart. Now they feel the obligation to do something about it. Maybe they already know. A lot of times in a situation that goes on like this, sometimes they know, and they are just choosing to look the other direction because of finances, because of comfortability, because of their children. There's a myriad of reasons why. So once you give that information, then take your hands off. There's nothing else you can do. You did your part in being their friend and telling them that this happened, but then take your hands off. Now, I've had a couple situations that I know about where the persons, they were couple friends. And so the one couple, worked really closely with the other couple. The husband worked with the other husband, and the wives were really good friends. And the wife had a dilemma because she had to go to her husband and say, listen, I know that the other husband is cheating. I want to tell her, how do I handle this? Now, this was a really good situation. And the husband over here said, well, you can't tell her because I work with this person and this is going to damage our working relationship. So what would you do in that? I mean, that is a tough decision. And so what happened was that person didn't tell her, but kind of gave her some clues, just very subtly gave her, the other wife, clues about it, and a revelation came to pass. And so she didn't actually have to tell. So, I mean, that was something that was very, significant. So, that one worked out okay because, that person and her husband didn't have to be the bearer of that bad news to the other wife. And then it didn't strain the husband's relationship at work. So, I mean, there are so many different scenarios. So, yeah. I mean, you must respect your husband, right? If your husband says, listen, you're really going to cause some issues with me and this other husband, if you tell her, I mean, again, it's a slippery slope because, that person really felt strongly that she wanted to tell her, but she couldn't. And so, it worked out in the end because the wife, kind of had a revelation. And again, you don't know what people are thinking in this situation. I come from a past of, with faith-based, that I needed to forgive, and that I needed to have some grace and mercy over here. And so I was kind of kept in that situation, or kept myself in that situation. No one was keeping me in that situation. I was keeping me in that situation. And so that was where I had to decide. I had a decision to make, because a lot of times, like I'm saying, a lot of times the wife or the husband already knows that the other person has left the relationship, even emotionally. You can tell emotionally, and you can tell sexually. You can tell, all of those things. If your intimacy has been broken, you can kind of tell that things are not going well. So I have this book, and it's called The State of Affairs, Rethinking Infidelity. And it's a really good book. It's by Esther Perel. And she has a lot of good stories in here about healing. Okay. So it's not all about, everybody breaks up, divorces and everything. She has really good stories in here about how they came to that revelation, how she counseled some, like one of the men in the book, was saying he had these mistresses, and the reason he had them was because he wasn't getting enough intimacy from his wife. But of course, as she unraveled everything, it was really, he just liked the excitement of having other women. And she said to him, she said, well, what if you told your wife that you just couldn't be a one woman man? How would she feel about that? And he said, oh, I could never tell her that, because then she didn't sign up for that. And she said, well, she also didn't sign up for you lying to her either. And so, you really, the person cheating really has to come to grips as to what the root issue is. And like I said the other night, and I posted it on my page here, about when somebody is cheating, it's never really about another person in the relationship. It's always about themselves. And I've been through a couple scenarios. And also I've had friends in the same situation, but the person cheating is missing something. They're not filled up somehow. Their insecurities, their self-esteem is the one that's harmed. But what happens is the spouse, then now they have the self-esteem, and now they have the insecurities. So it's just so important that you communicate. Like, once you feel like your intimacy levels and your communication is starting to tank, it's really your responsibility as a couple to talk to one another and say, listen, I'm feeling this. What also was great about this man who eventually did get back with his wife, he did tell her, and he told her the truth. He goes, I can't say that I'm not going to be attracted to another person. And that's just being real. But why? Why was he feeling those places? And it was because he needed more validation. So, just being transparent with your partner is the key. So if I could say anything, communication is key. And if the other, and sometimes the other person is in denial. They don't think something's wrong. They don't have enough time. You have to make the time. You have to make the time for your partner. You have to have that intimate level. You have to have communication. So tell me in the comments, guys, what have you went through? Have you had any experiences in this? And I know some of you that are on here, of course, my story. So we won't go that. Rephrase that. Communicate with the intention of being heard and understood, not communicate just to have words pass through the air. Yes. Well, communication, I guess when I say that, that's kind of what I mean. You really need to listen to the other person. Yes, I agree with you totally. Communicating, saying, hey, I feel like my needs are not being met here, and if you have the kind of relationship and are building a relationship with someone uh, with a good foundation, you being able to say that and feeling safe to say that is huge. What if that person gets defensive? How do you handle that? You say, "Hey, listen, I don't think you're spending enough time with me. Yeah, we're not having enough sex." All of those things. And if that partner gets defensive, how do you break through that? Right? How do you break through those places? You just have to say, "Listen, I'm feeling this way." And using the I statements, I feel this way, to make it not sound, like you're attacking the other person and that they're not doing it, but saying, I feel like, we're not spending enough time. Our intimacy level is off. What do you think? So kind of reframing it so it's not accusatory, but again, with infidelity and cheating, a lot of the times the other partner kind of knows. They have an intuition about this. They can feel the separation and the distance, between them and their partner. So, how can you reel that back in? Well, I have a couple things that I would say to reel that back in. Communication, communicating each other. Again, if one person gets defensive, then bringing up, what are your other options? How can you bring that up in a different way? Or how can you communicate without making the other person feel like it's their fault? Saying, "Hey, listen, I know I haven't been XYZ," just kind of bringing it up like that. So, all right, let's see. Hi, Jason. How are you? Sometimes it's picking the right time to discuss it, not when they first wake up or they go to bed as well. That's right. Those are a counselor of mine uh, suggested that if there were any things happening during the week, and say you're a really busy couple, you have a lot of things going on, never just to discuss it in the morning or in the evening, but kind of make an appointment with one another to discuss some things. It may be on the weekend, midday, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, something like that. So let's see, take the attack out and the accusing approach, right, Lance? Trust is hard to rebuild. It is hard to rebuild, but if the people involved are accountable and they are committed to it, it can be done. I definitely am not in Tina, me and my situation, but you can do it if the two partners are committed to that. If they make up, I went through quite a few counseling type of exercises before and learned, you can make up some accountability types of things. You can make up some lists together, but having that little meeting, by the time, like, it really upset me when you write those things down during the week, you meet and then you discuss it. If you've made a commitment to one another, it's worth it for you to make more commitments of accountability and trust. So, Lance is saying, "Hey," to Jason with the Y. So trust is hard to rebuild, but Tina, it can be done. It can be done. I've seen it in other relationships. In fact, I talked to a friend earlier, and her partner had a pornography issue, and she had to back out of the relationship because she couldn't compete with the pornography, because it was just too ingrained, and there were secrets and then there were lies and everything. And she kind of pulled out of the whole situation. And then she brought the relationship to a friendship level. And in the friendship level, she just, she gave her boundaries. She rebuilt some boundaries around that relationship. It was friendship, and it was no longer the intimate love relationship. And then he started to see the value and how he wanted to, to fix what was going on. But what happened, which doesn't happen often, is he actually had a supernatural healing with this. He actually, prayed about it, and God helped him to resolve it, which that isn't always the outcome, and it isn't so easy. But this did happen with this couple, and now they're rebuilding their relationship, and they're going forward. And it's a great resolve. And I think that you can do it, but you both have to be committed. So let's see. Okay, what does Kim say? Really, if one person has an affair, that the fault relies with both. The problems were already there before it actually happened. I don't agree with you, Kim. I mean, I do agree that there's problems in the relationship, but if you have to go outside of the relationship with another person, that then you're the one that has the problem more so than the other person, because that means that you weren't able to communicate. You didn't open yourself up to communicate with the other person at all. You actually just decided, well, this person's not going to do, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. And that's just not, I think that it does rely with the both. I mean, I think that the other person does have responsibility in it, but the other person doesn't have responsibility for you cheating. Like, they didn't make you cheat. Like, you made that moral decision. You're the one that made that decision to go outside of the relationship instead of trying to fix it. So let's see. Yes, make an appointment, or even when you're doing something together, like when driving, or if you're working or around the house, not too strict in a way, more casual. Yeah, that's a good idea. Instead of just making the whole appointment. Oh, Dr. Love, Lance's Dr. Love. That's true. Was on track, it wouldn't have happened. They were communicating well. That's right. I agree with that. No part. Okay, I don't know which, but right, and that is a fault of both parties. Yes, it's the fault of both parties, but the one person decided to go out on the other person. That person didn't say that the other person that you cheated on, the person that wasn't the cheater, isn't the one that made that decision. They didn't say, hey, since it's not working out with us, why don't you go get a girlfriend? I'm sorry, we're not doing well, so why don't you just go get a girlfriend? Anyway. so yeah, I think it's selfish on the part of the person that did it, because they should have just communicated it. Oh, you're not wearing your glasses. Both people need to open up. Explain some more of that, Lance. I'd like to hear what you mean by that. And then, right, the action is totally wrong. It is totally wrong. And it doesn't mean that the other party is not doing something not to help their relationship, but it's the responsibility of the person that's cheating to say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this option. I no longer am happy in this situation. I don't know. I don't feel like you're fulfilling my needs here, blah, blah, blah. So I think I'm going to go and get someone else to fill those needs. Are you cool with that? As if that would ever happen. But the thing is that that other person didn't make that decision. Give them, and if you're going to do that, in fact, Jason and I have talked about this. He said in his past relationships, he just told the person, hey, listen, if you're going to cheat, just tell me before you do it, and I think that's a great way. Hey, listen, this is a 2-person relationship, and if you're going to cheat, that isn't fair to the other person. You need to communicate that. Say, hey, listen, I feel like I'm not getting my needs met here. And if that person is not taking that well and is not responding to that, then it's up to you to make the boundaries and say, listen, if you don't help me to feel these, to feel some of these things, if you're not going to help in this relationship, then you need to end the relationship. Again, when you're not feeling filled up in certain ways, that's on you. Again, another person cannot make you happy. Only you can make you happy. The other person can do things to make you happy. The other person can be participant in a happy zone, but it's not up to them to fill your whole tank up. You have to fill your own tank up. And that's what I'm getting to is, that means that you need some work. That other person can make you happy, but you have to decide to be happy in the first place, and that's what I mean. Be honest with yourself, and then be even more honest with your partner, mate, or spouse. Because if I had been given the choice, like, listen, if I feel like you're not making me happy, I'm going to go over here and get somebody else. I'd be like, okay, well, why don't you just like stop that now and just go get the other person, and I will bow out. Give me the option. So, yeah. So be honest with yourself. Okay. Thank you guys. You guys are interacting so well. I really appreciate it because this is kind of a tough subject matter for me. Oh, you make me happy too, Kim. Thank you. And those dogs, her dogs right there. Filled up. Yep. Fill up the tank. Filled up the love tank. So, but you have to fill up your own love tank first. You'll never run out of gas, right? If you fill up your own love tank, you're not going to run out of gas. But the other person is just an addition, a bonus to that, right? If you're not real with yourself, and if you need to feel validation by getting someone else outside of that relationship, let the person that you're in the relationship just know and let them go, because that's not fair. It's just not fair to that other person, because you're going to do a lot of damage to them, and there's no need for that. So, yes. Okay, let's see. Some people don't know what makes themselves happy. That's right. And that's why it's so important for you to be on track with yourself. You have to check in with yourself. You have to know who you are. Do you know who you are? Tina, I know you know who you are. Kim, I know you know who you are. Right? They want to keep the model home front. That's right. But that's up to them. If they want to keep the model home front and they just want to have that, that's a facade. Who wants to keep that up? It's hard to keep that up. And been there, done that. And I didn't truly want to know the truth, and that's why this is the subject. Would you tell your friend if they knew? What if your friend doesn't respond to what you told them? How do you handle that? How did you handle that, Kim? So, want to know. So, Lance, thanks for stopping in. Catch you later. Do it for the job or the buddies. Yeah. Some people don't want to get out of the comfort zone. They have this household that kind of runs like this, and they have kids, and they don't want to upset, the home life, and at the end of the day, it's really on that person. If they're not willing to look at what's going on and why, that's really on that person, So I think I know who I am. Do you know who you are? Because that's what you need to know. You need to know who you are. You need to fill up your own tank. You be a true friend and let them take the lead. That's right. It's really very simple. Just don't cheat. Yes. Communicate. If you need to end the relationship, end the relationship. There's no need to drag another person through that. But it's also on the other person to really take inventory and into where they're at too. Because I'll be honest. I do know of relationships where, one of the people definitely is not giving with the relationship, and the other person is very upset and feels like that they need to, to go outside of the marriage to get that fulfilled. Well, that's because they didn't put up the boundaries. They don't have the accountability, and they're just too chicken to end the relationship. So, let's see. Losing a relationship is scary. Fear could make people lie and cheat and ignore. That's true. The fear of it, you kid yourself too. That's right. I agree with you, Cherish. Be a true friend and don't murder the cheating master. No, that's nice. Have you wanted to murder somebody? Do we need to talk after this? Anyway, I'm just kidding. Sorry. You're funny. So here's the thing is you can't get, and that's the other thing. Say you have a couple and the guy cheated or whatever, the girl cheated, guy, it doesn't matter which one cheated, but you know that they cheated. And what if they decide to stay together? What if they work it all out and try to stay together? But then it happens again. What do you guys do in that matter? I mean, how do you handle that friendship with that couple? Do you guys retreat from the couple? Do you continue to entertain with them? I mean, how do you handle it? How do you go forward? Do you think it's your business? Do you think that you don't want to associate because, too much of that stuff? So let me know. I mean, what do you do in that case? Because, I actually do know some people that have relationships where that happened, and I feel bad for them because I almost feel like people have backed away from them and don't want to associate with them now, and that's kind of a shame. You hear a whining dog behind here. It's my dad's dog. Anyway, Kim, I have the show. Thanks, my girls. These are my girl crew. If you think you can have your partner and another person at the same time and think that's okay, you need to ask yourself, for what reason are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve or fulfill? That's right. What is it? Well, those are the questions. Why do you have to have your cake and eat it too? Let's see. I think you surround the non-cheater with the positive vibes and prayers. Okay, that's nice. Okay. Never has worked out for me. Sounds like a good way to weed out friends. Yeah. Yeah. Except what's terrible is the one person that wasn't the cheater, and it then is kind of doesn't have a good support system either. So, yeah, I know about that. So, when people think it's taboo to be around you because, you're a dummy and you're in denial. So that's my personal shout out. So Tina, okay. So it's a hard one. It's hard to tell a friend that their partner is cheating. It's hard to see a friend cheating, and what do you do if it's two friends? That's what I wonder. What if it's your friend's friend and partner? What do you guys do then? I'm just curious. Do you confront the cheater? I know that's happened before. I've heard of that. Is that the person was confronted by the friends and told that person that they had to tell that partner. And there's so many different scenarios in this. And there's no, I don't think there are some right answers. I don't think there's wrong answers, because we all are going to project a lot of things into that, right? I don't think there's a right and wrong. If you feel like you can't tell your friend, I don't think that you're wrong. I just think that it would be nice of you to do that. But if you can't, then you can't. There's no right and wrong. Yep. They're not your true friends. Well, that doesn't mean they're not your true friends. That means they don't know what to do. They kind of, they're having some apprehension because of their own personal stuff sometimes. So just to say that, call you and ask for advice. Exactly. Call me, ask for advice. Jason on here, he's a relationship coach. Call him too. So the scenarios are vast. But when it comes down to it and you see that situation is happening, it doesn't matter who's at fault or not in the relationship. Like, what I found is that people actually think, oh, well, that person's not giving that person enough of XYZ. That's why they're cheating on them. No, that's I'm just telling you from an outside perspective that means that person hasn't communicated to their own partner their needs. And that's what it comes down to, and to vilify the person that's being cheated on is absolutely absurd, but it does happen. Most definitely. If you have the nerve to cheat, then you should have the nerve to end the relationship. Are you sorry you did it or you got caught doing it? Exactly. Most of the time, they're sorry they got caught, not sorry that they did it. So to stay in it, again, has to be accountability. And to build that trust again, there has to be some counseling and accountability. Counseling is key. It really is. If you think that you can get through it without counseling or even pastoral counseling and prayer, things like that, then you're tough. But usually that doesn't work out so well. So you definitely need a good support system and a good person for guidance. I have and will tell, don't cheat on my friends that I love. Make them look stupid. Yeah, they are not sorry. They blame it on you. Right. A lot of the times the person that's cheating is saying, well, it's because you're not doing you. And so that person's not going to take responsibility. So it's really on your friend who's being cheated on to make that decision to leave that relationship, if that's the case. And sadly, sometimes they stay in those relationships probably too long. So, yeah. Even if they listen to their friends, again, it's your responsibility to tell them, but it's not your responsibility to do anything about it after you tell them. And definitely, it's not your responsibility to tell them that they're dumb for staying or not dumb or those things. That's the other thing that I have seen, that friends can actually turn on their friends and tell them, what they think they should do. And it's never your place to tell them what to do. It's just your place to give them the information, and they get to choose what they're going to do with that information. So, yeah, heated discussions here. So what do you guys think? So thank you guys for jumping on here. I really appreciate it, for your support. And how do you, Jason, if you're still on here, he's a relationship coach that I collaborated with the other day. So how do you go forward and kind of cheat proof your relationship? I mean, what's one thing that you can do? Because I think he might have another show like that or something. I'm thinking that you do. Anyway, so how do you go forward? I mean, say you've been cheated on. Say you have trust issues. Yeah, Jason, yeah, blame it on you. With a Y. Jason with a Y. Yes. So how do you go forward after you've been cheated on? Say you've been cheated on several times. You're out of that relationship. You're getting into a new relationship. How do you get over that? How do you think you get over that? A lot of work to be done. Again, like I said earlier, what you need to do is you need to look into yourself, and you need to fill up your own love tank. You need to fill up your own confidence level, your own self-esteem, because again, you cannot get that from another person. That's only going to come from you and God. God helps you to do that. Yes, Kim, lots of counseling and prayer. So ego can be our downfall. It's not, we need to step up and say, if we see someone we know they are cheating. Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely not an easy thing to do. Learn to love and trust yourself. Exactly. You may not know how to trust somebody yet, but learning to trust yourself and going forward that. And hey, you have to, it's a process. It's definitely a process. And that's why I'm talking about this tonight. It's a process. Let's process this. Let's get through this. How do we get over this? Until I'm healed, I don't look elsewhere. How do you know you're healed, Tina? So learn to love and trust yourself. So how do you know you're healed? I want to hear. What do you guys think about that? How do you know you're healed from that? What are the indications that you can move forward and that you can trust another? You're gonna have to risk it again. You're gonna have to trust somebody again. How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna go forward? So be clear and set some very clear boundaries. You should be able to express yourself up front and say what you require from the new relationship. It's a must. Trust is to be earned, not given. Agreed. Totally agree. I used to be in that mode of I trusted the person and I waited for, and then when they did something, then I didn't trust them. Now I flipped it. Now I don't trust them until they prove to me they can be trustworthy, and that's in myself too. I have to trust myself that I'm picking the right person as well. So, Kim, I honestly have no idea. Okay, well, you're being truthful about that. I'm not, because I still have anger. So, and you're being honest about that. So, the indication that you can move forward is the confidence in yourself and that self-esteem level that I was talking about. And exactly what you said, though. You said learn to love and trust yourself. When you love yourself and you trust yourself, even if you get in a relationship with somebody that's not trustworthy, even if you make that wrong decision again and fall into a trap of that, you can at least, shake it off because you love yourself and trust yourself enough to say, I made a mistake. I did it again, but don't beat yourself up. You gave it a try. You gave it a risk. People change too. People evolve, people change. Okay. So you just need to communicate well. And like Jason said, be very clear about your boundaries. Say, I will. And we're at these places where, maybe we don't have so much time. I'm saying at my age group, maybe we don't have all of this time like we did when we were in our younger 20s, when we were building something, when we were, having children and, all of those things. Now it comes down to, you really are focusing on the other person and having to do that. So you really need to make some clear, this is what I will allow. This is what I won't allow. And those boundaries have to be very clear, because if you're vague about them, that means you're being vague with yourself. That means you really don't know. So let's see. When you can think of the person who hurt you and not feel that pain and anxiety, then you can embrace healing and know you're healed. That's really good. Thank you, Andre. That's really good. So read Safe People by Townsend and Cloud and Boundaries and Dating by Townsend and Cloud. Yes. Get you started on getting restarted. Yes. Henry Cloud. He's somebody that I watch on here, Dr. Henry Cloud. He talks about boundaries. Yes. I think that puppy is. Yes. I have a dog in the background. I apologize. She's my dad's dog, and she's kind of upset that he's gone. So she's a little mad at him right now. She thinks he's left him. So thank you, Andre. Yes, most definitely. It's a process. It's timing. Time does make it ease a little bit, but you have to trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, then I suggest going to a counselor to gain those areas of trust with yourself and really to understand, what your triggers are, understand if you're projecting things. You need to do a lot of work. It takes the work, right? So great. Yes, the puppy is being a puppy. So sorry about that. So awesome. You guys are great. Thank you tonight. You guys are really interacting a lot, and I appreciate it. You know, it's a tough one. And again, this book is good. The State of Affairs by Rethinking Infidelity by Esther Perel. She even goes through if it does happen and how to end, your relationship if it needs to be ended, and also how to come back together, if and to earn that trust again if you can. Yeah, time does help, but it's a long process to say the least. Yes. Yeah, cheating is disrespectful. It is. It is. And yeah, the whole I didn't mean to kind of thing. If somebody cheats on you, like I didn't mean to, that says a lot about their character. So, you have to really rethink that, and there are definitely variables in that, like, alcohol I can see as a variable. And your decision making process is definitely tainted, but it doesn't matter. You then you need to not go out into an environment where that might happen. You have to control your environment if you even, think that you're going to let that boundary down. So let's see. Some people are afraid to be clear on boundaries as they feel the new person will take it the wrong way, but you can't think they will know or be on the same page. So you need to be upfront and clear, right? Nobody is a mind reader. You think you know a person when you're kind of first getting to know people. You're like, well, I kind of know them. I think no, you still don't know them. So they're not mind readers. So you really do need to be clear. This, I like you, this is going in this direction. How do you feel about this? Are we exclusive? Blah, blah, blah. What does exclusive mean to you? Maybe even asking that question. I think sometimes we don't even know, to ask those clear questions. Like when you say that we're going out or we're dating, what does that mean? I know that in the dating world right now, that's really hard to figure out because there's all these online dating apps. There's all this and that. When you're dating or seeing someone, what does that mean to you? Be very clear about that. If you're going to date somebody and say, hey, we're dating. Well, does that mean you're dating just me, or does that mean you're dating others? Which means I can date others. And, what does that mean? So be very clear. And when you're saying, are we exclusive? What does even exclusive mean? You believe it or not, people misunderstand with one another what that means. And if the other person, is feeling something, being honest and telling their feelings is the key. So let's see. What did Jonathan say? There are definitely always variables. That's right. There are variables. People cheat on their iPad. What? You mean virtually they can cheat. And that's the other thing. What do you consider as cheating? That it's very interesting. Some people don't think pornography is cheating. Some people don't think chatting online with somebody is cheating, or, sexting or whatever. What is your definition of cheating? So cheating is an act of self-destruction. Jonathan, I agree with you, because you're not being true with yourself. When Jason and I were on this show the other day, that's it. You're not being true to yourself. Sometimes you don't even know why. Some people say, I don't know why I did it. Sometimes they actually don't know why. They still did it, but they sometimes don't know the real root reason. So that would be the reason to go investigate in yourself as to, why did I do that? What is it that was missing? You don't know me until you know me. Okay. That's true. Cyber cheating. Yes. Some people will never be happy. There are other things. The other variables that we'll talk about is the validation piece. Some people need more validation than others. And so they need to get it not just from one source, but they need to get it from many sources. And I know that I've talked about narcissism on here before, but narcissism is a key to that. Some people that are narcissistic, need that extra attention and feel like they deserve that extra attention. And if you're not solely giving that to them, they feel like they have to get it elsewhere. But that's again on them. Again, that's on them, not on you. But it still is your choice on what you're going to do in that relationship. If you're going to continue in a relationship like that, that's still on you. You have to take some responsibility there. So, yeah, because they're not happy with themselves. Usually that's the root of it. Their self-esteem, they just need that extra validation continued. And so, if you're in that kind of relationship, it's very important to get counseling. If you're not happy with yourself and you feel like other people have to meet your needs, then you need to do some work on yourself. And here's the thing is I've read this before. When you see an attractive person, even when you're in a relationship, you're committed to each other, and you see an attractive person, it is that, oh, you shouldn't look at that person. I mean, there are attractive people out there that we look at, but that does not mean that we're going to cheat. And I've seen that happen. I've seen other people hit other people and say, oh, I saw you look at that girl or whatever. It's almost like a natural inclination for the eye to go to an attractive person. So if you're that insecure, me personally, I would have a comment to say maybe, but, you have to trust your partner. It comes down to trust. If that's happening and you don't trust your partner, that's where you're going to see the insecurities in yourself. And it's time to work on you. So let's see. What is it? Oh, yep. I've had clients who are cheating in text on their iPad and not realizing that the rest of the family can see what they're saying and to who. It's happened multiple times. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yep. I've heard of that happening too, where the person on their text phone didn't realize that the iPad or the computer still was doing their messages. And yeah, that's actually how they got caught. And so, that is the question. I mean, there is something to that. In this book, she talks about the guy that had the two mistresses. And the thing is that the thrill of that to somebody, sometimes the fantasy of it, and actually just that feeling of, I guess maybe getting away with something can fuel that. But there's a root issue there. That might be the scenario, but that's not the root issue, And if you feel like you have to do that to get a thrill, then your relationship needs a lot of work. You really need to start working and communicating or get out of that relationship. So let's see. What do we have? Andre. It's absolutely true. Most people can't quite put their finger on why they do what they do. We seriously have to really examine ourselves and our motives for why we operate the way we do. It's a treacherous life and world. Yes, and that's why we need Jesus, right, Andre? It's comes back to meditation and prayer and really getting to know yourself and what your moral compass is. Okay, what about when your spouse won't share their password for their phone? Why? Well, that to me is an indicator. Why do they not trust you to have their password? And what is it on their phone that they don't want you to see? But do they think it's just a breach of their privacy? Some people do feel that way. So it's really depends on the person, because some people feel like, well, if you trusted me, you don't need to have that. But then on the other hand, if you don't have anything on there for them to trust, I guess you could let them. But Jason actually talked about that the other night, how you could read something into any text, even, if you were not, if you were insecure and not trusting, you could actually see an innocent text and turn it into something that it isn't. So it just depends on the couple and what's going on. You knew a couple like that, I know a couple like that too. So let's see. So amen and amen. Absolutely. Yep. Andre, I think that's what you're saying about. That's why we need Jesus. We need to be guided back to that moral compass. If we feel like we're getting in that zone, and that's why you need to know yourself. You know, we all, nobody is perfect. We all fall, yeah. As Michael Jackson sang, it starts with the man in the mirror. I like that song. Yep. The man in the mirror. That's where it starts. That's where the root is. So, we're all fallible. We are imperfect. But we need to be real with ourselves. We need to be authentic and real with where we're at and who we are. And when we start thinking that if we think that we're fooling someone else, you're totally wrong. You're fooling yourself the most. You are not fooling the other person. You're only fooling yourself, and you're only damaging yourself. So if you're the one out there thinking that you can get one over, you really can't. And you really aren't getting anything out of what you're doing. You just are causing a bunch of shrapnel and damage all around you. So really take a look at that. If I'm talking to you right now and you're the one in a relationship that you shouldn't be, really look at the motives as to why you're doing that. And what is it that you feel like you need? What is it you feel like you're missing? And usually it's a piece of yourself. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person. It really doesn't in the relationship. Another person could abstain from giving you that sexual intimacy, emotion, time, all of those things. You can blame it on all that, but really, when it comes down to it, it means it's because it's missing in you. So I just really, really recommend that you look at yourself and you look in the mirror, exactly like he said. It's not always what you think it is. Another person cannot make you whole. Only you can make you whole. God can help to make you whole. So if you're struggling with that right now, just say a prayer, do some meditation, find a good counselor, find a life coach, a relationship coach, whatever you need to do to fill those holes up. So, oh yes, I forgot. If you have to check behind your significant other, then it's not worth the trouble. Yeah, here's the deal. Did I not say here's the deal? Hold on. I've got a here's the deal thing. You guys will laugh, okay?
Here's the deal.
The deal. Yeah. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Be authentic with yourself. Be real with yourself. Take care of your issues. You really need to think more of yourself. When you do things like this, it's because you feel like you're not worthy. It's because you feel like you don't think much of yourself. But you're worthy. You can do it. So get a counselor, get a life coach, relationship coach, whatever you need to do to make that big step towards being the best you that you can be. So I'm going to end on that. Right on time, 7:29. And I thank you guys for being so interactive tonight and talking about cheating. And it was kind of a difficult one for me. And I appreciate the support of my gals on here and the guys on here. And I appreciate you all. And I hope that you have a wonderful night. And I am going to say, peace out.